All right, talking about the ability for your upper back to extend. So most of us, just because we spend so much time forward, so much time on our devices, so much time at our desk, in our cars, we tend to fall captive to gravity, and we have a hard time uprighting ourselves without losing this position. So the first few phases was about pelvis position, and then where your ribs come into position, or your diaphragm. But what happens is once you start to get this, a lot of people feel like their head is falling forward. So that can happen for two different reasons. One, for the lack of ability to extend through your upper back without and keeping your core connected. Or it could be from a lack of stability or a lack of awareness of where your head should sit in relation to your spine, right? Because you're changing what you're doing here, and then you need to address how to change up the chain, okay? So a good little test to see if your client has a mobility problem or a stability problem. So what I mean by a mobility problem is if they're really locked up here, versus a stability problem is that they can actually move, but their body doesn't know how to move them. So you put them in a child's pose position, and why we go this position, because it just locks your lower back out of being a part of it. And I say that loosely because a lot of people try to shimmy their hips and twist and rotate through here. So be aware that you can still cheat, but you'll get an indication of how that person cheats. So you're gonna take one arm and you're gonna put it on your low back. Okay, and you can see automatically how Charlie's shoulder likes to roll forward, and it's just noting it, like don't worry too much about it. And now what I want you to do is look and rotate towards the camera as far as you can. Okay, so what I'm looking at is, does she side bend, right? So now I want you to come back, and I'm just gonna act like a block because she's actually moving towards the wall to rotate. So now when she does that, do you see how we took away her range? And she's just trying to create it with her shoulders. So if I'm actually looking at her spine, it's not moving very much, okay? Now if we look at the other side, so we'll just switch to the other side. I'm again looking to see what she does to rotate. And now she actually rotates a lot better going that way. Do you feel the difference?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you could do is, if you were to help them, so if someone is like stuck like this and they can't move, and if you try to help them, can they move further? That's more of a stability problem. If they're just stuck there and without your help, they are not moving, that's more of a joint problem. So, good. Relax that. So another thing that you can do is, some people can't put their arms in this position. So you can always test it in a different position. So if you take this arm and you put it on your back of your head. Now we know that Charlie has a tight lat. So for her to do that, she already feels stress in her neck, yes? Right? Because her head wants to poke forward, and she doesn't have the option of popping her ribcage forward. So now when you go to rotate, and I'm going to block you, you can see how it's coming from her ribs, and she still is not rotating. So this is a good test to determine if they have a stability versus a mobility problem. And then, because a lot of people will have a mobility problem and you're doing all this rotation stuff, but have you really changed that, or have you really opened up those joints to be able to do that? So you're actually creating more problems because they really just don't move in that direction. So that's why it's even more important to do the breathing stuff, so that they can relax and move into those areas of restriction.